The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Jessica Martinez stood before the assembled delegates, her fists clenched at her sides. Beside her, James Chen maintained his diplomatic posture, though his jaw was tight with barely contained frustration. The Vraxian ambassador had just declared humanity's petition for trade route access denied, for the 5th consecutive cycle. "You must understand." Ambassador Thexerl clicked through his translator, his crystalline exoskeleton glinting under the chamber lights. "Humans are simply too volatile, too unpredictable. Your species lacks the temperament for civilized commerce." Jessica took a deep breath. James placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, a silent reminder of the protocols they'd studied for months. "Stay calm, be diplomatic. Don't prove their prejudices right." "Ambassador," Jessica said evenly, "we've provided every certification, every psychological evaluation, every economic projection you've requested. What more do you need?" The Vraxians' antennae twitched in what their briefing materials had identified as dismissive amusement. "Perhaps in another century, when your species has matured beyond your primitive impulses." Laughter rippled through the chamber, a chorus of chirps, buzzes and harmonic frequencies that the translator rendered as cruel mockery. The delegate from Saros Prime, a reptilian species that had achieved spaceflight when Earth was still cooling, actually slapped his tail against the floor in mirth. James felt Jessica's shoulder tense beneath his palm. He knew that feeling. He'd felt it himself when they'd been barred from the medical conference on Antares Station, despite bringing research that could have saved millions. When they'd been turned away from the cultural exchange on Kepler 442b because humans were deemed too aggressive for artistic collaboration. When their mining consortium application had been rejected because some bureaucrat decided humans couldn't be trusted near valuable resources. "Perhaps," James said carefully, "we could schedule another review." "Denied," Thexerl interrupted. "This matter is closed. Humanity will remain restricted to its own system for the foreseeable future. Your species simply cannot be trusted among civilized peoples." That's when Jessica said it. Her voice was quiet, almost conversational, but somehow it carried across the entire chamber. "Okay, now you've really pushed it." The effect was instantaneous and dramatic. The Vraxian ambassador's antennae shot straight up. The Saros delegate's tail stopped mid-swing. Even the ethereal luminari representative, a being of pure energy who rarely reacted to physical reality, flickered with sudden intensity. "Oh no," someone whispered in Centaurian. They said the thing. Everyone remained calm. Thexerl's translator screeched, but his backing away from the human delegates undermined his words. James felt it too, that shift inside himself, like a switch flipping. The diplomatic mask he'd worn for months suddenly felt like a costume he was done wearing. Jessica's posture had changed completely. She wasn't angry. She'd moved past anger into something colder and far more dangerous: resolve. "You want to know why humans are too volatile?" Jessica asked, her voice still eerily calm. "It's not because we're primitive. It's because we refuse to accept no when no is arbitrary and unfair." She began walking toward the ambassador's platform. Security drones whirred to life, but she ignored them completely. "You species with your 1,000-year lifespans, your perfect societies, your civilized ways, you know what you've lost? You've lost the ability to adapt, to innovate, to push back when something's wrong." James found himself walking beside her, that same cold determination settling over him. "We checked the council bylaws," he said. 3 times. "There's no legitimate reason to deny our application. You're doing this because you can, because you're comfortable and we make you uncomfortable." The Vraxian was now pressed against the back wall of his platform. "Security! Remove these humans!" But the security drones hadn't moved. Their operators, members of species who'd all dealt with humans before, knew better. "Here's what's going to happen," Jessica continued. "We're going back to human space. And we're going to do what humans do best when someone tells us we can't do something. We're going to prove you wrong," James finished. The 2 humans turned and walked toward the exit. The crowd of delegates parted before them like water. Just before they reached the door, Jessica looked back. "Oh, an ambassador? You might want to review human history. Check how things worked out for the last people who tried to keep us contained." 3 standard years later, the Galactic Council received a transmission. Human ships, faster than anything in the Council fleet, had established independent trade routes through previously uncharted space. Human medical teams had cured the orphan plague on Centauri 7th, something council physicians had deemed impossible. Human engineers had built a Dyson swarm around their star in a fraction of the time it should have taken, and humanity was offering to share it all. For a price, full council membership with voting rights. Ambassador Thexral reviewed the proposal with his antennae drooping in defeat. Behind the official language and diplomatic protocols, he could read the subtext clearly. You should have just given us the trade routes. The proposal was accepted unanimously. In the human delegation office, Jessica and James celebrated with coffee, a beverage that had become inexplicably popular across 36 star systems. Think they've learned their lesson? James asked. Jessica grinned. Probably not. But that's okay. Next time they push it, we'll just push back harder. It was, after all, the human way.